for chapter 4, I just want to state that a lot of people tend to have a lot of problems with this. So if you need to, make sure to watch these videos several times. Now with chapter 4.1, it's baby stepping you into fractions. Now equivalent fractions are fractions that equal the same amount, AMT is amount, but look different. Alright? For example, like if I have a whole number 3, it is considered a fraction over 1, okay? But that's the same thing as just 3. And if I have, let's say 6 divided by 2, when I simplify that, that's also equal to 3. So this looks a lot different than that, and yet they both represent the same amount. Now, we're going to actually work at some equivalent fractions. Let's say this line wasn't there. I couldn't figure out how to get it without this line. But let's say there were only 2 pieces of a pizza, and you ate half of my pizza. Alright? Shame on you. But if you did, you ate 1 out of 2 pieces. Well, if it is actually split into 4 pieces, then you ate 2 out of 4 pieces. Well, what if my pizza happened to be split in to equally 8 pieces? Well, then you ate 4 out of 8 pieces. Now, did you eat any more, even though the numbers changed? No. All of these still represent 1/2. So, let me ask you this. What would I have to do to 1? What would I have to multiply to 1 to make it a 2? And what would I have to multiply to 2 to make it a 4? You got it. I had to times them both by 2. But notice that it wasn't just the top or the bottom that changed. They both had to change by the same amount. This process is called building. Yeah, I'm terrible with writing. So, building equivalent fractions. And we'll get more into that later. Now, fractions is just a way to write part of a whole. And we do it so that the numerator is the part and the denominator is how many pieces the whole thing is split into. So, and I know we're going to get into this further later on, but this is a problem with my math lab that a lot of people got confused on. Now, each whole is split into how many pieces? You got it, 4 pieces. Now, how many whole pieces or whole circles are shaded in? You got it, 3 of them. And by the way, the instructions were write as a mixed number and then as a improper fraction. And I'll explain more on that later on. But we've got 3 whole pieces that are shaded. Now, of this whole, how many pieces are shaded? 1 of them. That's the part. Now the whole is in 4 pieces. Now, as an improper fraction, we got to count how many quarter circles are shaded. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13, but each piece, each whole circle is in how many pieces? You got it. 4. So be careful with this, because you're not going to put a 16 down here because you've got more than one whole, okay? And each whole is split into 4 pieces. So that is your denominator. Now a proper fraction is a fraction such that the numerator has to be smaller than your denominator. Improper fraction is where the numerator is either bigger than or equal to the denominator. A mixed number, and listen how I say this because it's going to come back. A mixed number is the sum of a whole number and proper fraction. So if I had 3 1/4, I could also say it is 3 plus 1/4. And later on that might become handy. So just remember that little tidbit. And guess what? It's free information. You don't have to pay for it more than what you had to pay for the class. Now, label as proper, improper, or a mixed number. Well, let's go by our definitions. A proper fraction is where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. Is that true here? Yes. So this is a proper fraction. Well, we've got a whole number and a proper fraction, so this is a mixed number. Now, is the numerator smaller than the denominator? No. So this is an improper fraction. And FRAC, I shortcut to for the word fraction. Now, evaluate. Yes, I know there are variables in here, letters instead of numbers, but it doesn't matter. If you have the same thing on the top as you do the bottom, that means you've got everything shaded out of the whole thing, which means you've got a 1. Now, if you have nothing shaded out of n, or the whole, that equals 0. Then you've got, let's say you've got 5 pieces, but your whole is in 1 piece. Well, n divided by 1, just like 3 divided by 1, became that number. Now the problem here is you have nothing. Your piece is in nothing, and yet you've got pieces. This cannot be defined. This is undefined. And there is a check for this. Okay? If you take the quotient or the divisor or the denominator and you times it by the quotient or the answer, you should be able to get the top. Ouch. 0 times anything is 0. How can I get a number? This can't happen. If it can't happen, it's undefined. And another way of looking at this is if 0 is under, it's undefined. Now, write improper fraction as a mixed number, or if it's a mixed number, write it as an improper fraction. Pay attention to the steps I'm telling you as I go. Now, if this kind of problem is negative, never ever never work with the negative. Just transfer it into your answer. Now, when you have an improper fraction and you need to make it into a mixed number, the steps are you take the divisor and you divide it into the top, or the numerator. Alright? 5 goes into 11 2 whole times. 2 times 5 is 10, so we're subtracting 10 from 11. That leaves a 1. Now your quotient happens to be your whole number. Your remainder is your numerator, and your divisor, or your denominator, stays your denominator. Alright? Number B is negative, so I'm just going to carry it into the answer. Now I'm going to take 4 divided into 21. 4 goes into 21 5 whole times, and 5 times 4 is 20, so we're subtracting 20. That leaves us a 1 on the bottom. And if I've got if this answer is smaller than your divisor, then you've done your math properly. If it's bigger, then you need to increase your quotient. Now, our quotient is our whole number. Our remainder is our numerator, and the divisor is still the divisor. Notice, I just want to caution you on something. Writing this, okay, is no good, because it might look like negative 51 over 4, and that's not true. Alright? Make sure your whole number is the same size as your whole entire fraction. Now, when we took an improper fraction and turned it into a mixed number, we ended up dividing and subtracting. Well, when we're going the opposite direction, guess what? We're going to multiply and we're going to add. So what I do is I take my whole number times my denominator, and then I add my numerator. Alright? So 4 times 9 is 36, plus 2 gives us 38. Now, just like here, the denominator stayed the denominator. Same thing here. The denominator stays the denominator. And now, this becomes my numerator. Now, a number last. Again, it's negative. Just carry the negative into your answer. Now, 7 times 3 plus 1. So that's 21 plus 1, which is 22. And our denominator stays our denominator, and our numerator becomes 22. Now I just want to show you something with number C. Alright. There we go. Now you can see it. If I put 4 plus 2 divide 9, that gives us 4.2 forever. Alright. Now, if I take 38 divided by 9, guess what? I get that same ugly answer. So, that shows me that 4 2/9 is the exact same answer as 38 over 9.